Well, thank you very much, Chair Schatz and Ranking Member Hyde-Smith, and I'm really glad to join both of you today as we continue full steam ahead to return to regular order and pass our funding bills in a timely, bipartisan way. I know that families back in my home state of Washington and across the country are counting on us to work together to get our communities the resources that they need to grow and thrive and compete on the world stage. And when it comes to keeping folks safe, setting families up for success, and strengthening our country, it really starts, as you well know, with making sure that everyone has a roof over their head and no one is left on the streets or out in the cold. Because it's all too common for families in every part of this country to be terrified about what will happen to them or to their kids the moment they can't make rent or cover their mortgage. My home state of Washington, like so many, have been really grappling with our nation's housing and homelessness crisis for years, and it has gotten worse, as you well know, in this pandemic. I've heard from people who have no place to stay, no idea how on earth they're ever going to afford rent or mortgage. I've heard from parents living paycheck to paycheck. They're scared they're going to have to skip meals or medical care to make rent, or who are really frightened their family's going to end up on the street. I've met with a lot of community leaders who are fighting day and night to build more housing, make it more affordable, and connect these folks who are experiencing homelessness with the resources that they need. As I wrote to President Biden, we need a whole of government approach here. And let's be clear, whole of government includes this subcommittee. That's why I fought to make critical housing investments in our bipartisan funding package last year, and I want to see us build on that progress with funding to tackle the root causes of this crisis. And that means increasing the supply of quality housing and preserving our existing public housing, investing in under-resourced neighborhoods, incentivizing changes to zone laws, rental assistance for first-time homebuyers. These are investments that pay off for our country in a lot of ways. They help families build wealth. They provide safety and stability so our kids can focus on school and adults can focus on their jobs and strengthen our families and our communities and our economy. So I really do look forward to working with the chair and ranking member on this subcommittee to make sure we have the investments that we need to move ahead. Secretary Fudge, thank you for being here today. I wanted to ask you, House Republicans have now proposed to cut non-defense discretionary programs to fiscal year 2022 levels. Can you talk with us about how those cuts would harm HUD's programs and your department's ability to increase the supply of affordable housing and reduce the cost of housing and people who are experiencing homelessness?
Yes, thank you very much, Senator. We do know that if we go to the 2022 levels, we would lose approximately 350,000 vouchers. We would be short well over $1 billion in renewing our project-based rental assistance contracts. That would be a loss of about 87,000 affordable units because we would not be able to meet our contract obligations. We would probably serve about 50,000 plus people who are homeless. We would not be able to serve about 50,000 people who are homeless through our continuums of care programs. And just think about it this way. Things go up. You know, rent goes up. We talked about inflation. Prices go up. If we can't meet at least the inflationary pressures of today, we lose out everywhere. People can't pay their rents because we can't afford to help them pay their rents. So we would have to not only lose all of these things that I just talked about, but we'd probably have a hiring freeze. We'd probably have to lay some people off because we received for the first time in many, many years a raise for some of our staff last year that we would not be able to maintain. It's just, we just can't function the way that we should because we would not have the resources to do it.
Well, I think it's really important that everybody recognize that we have a housing and a homelessness crisis, not only in my state, but across the country. And everyone should understand how serious and devastating those kinds of cuts would be for the entire country. So I just want everybody to absorb that. We have a problem, and we would not be addressing it if we go back to those.
And if I would also say this, that we have for decades and decades neglected public housing. We have not over the last few years been able to give them the kind of resources just to bring some of those properties up so that people can live decent lives. So each year, we are putting more resources into that. The President's 2024 budget, I think, requests about $3 billion for capital improvements and $8 billion overall, and it's not enough. We could spend that much money in New York or LA. What about the rest of the country?
So this is a serious challenge for all of us. I do have additional questions. I'll submit them for the record, but Mr. Chairman, as I said, this subcommittee is critical as we move forward. So thank you.